to rugby league, and Lykhan King-Togia made his NRL debut, the 20-year-old for the Dragons. So Shane Flanagan has gone on the record and said King-Togia will be the 7 for now after his performance in their loss against the Tigers. Should this be a permanent way forward for the Dragons in the halves with Dan Atkinson coming in next year?
It's a big call after a debut to then be given this, nod to say you'll be back, especially with, I would say, controversy surrounding it. It wasn't a easy call to drop Ilias, and it wasn't a favourable call. I think a lot of people wanted him to have a little bit more time to prove himself, but I think it's a very good sign for the youngster to, be re-signed, be given his shot, and then be motivated to keep going.
Well, I'm just looking here in New South Wales Cup as well. He made 7 appearances before he made his NRL debut for the Cup side. He had 9 try assists, 10 line break assists, and averaged about 69 run meters a game for a half, and he scored 3 tries in that as well. So clearly he's shown something. I believe he had an injury early last year as well, which sort of delayed him as well. But was dropping Ilias the right call?
If you go by result, no, because we still lost. But I think, you've got to look at it. I'm sure Flanagan was having that thought process for a couple of weeks. Even Ilias's agent was saying it 2 or 3 weeks back. He's only got 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think there's a cut and dry yes or no answer to it. But 17 tackles, 2 try assists in a debut when, you are playing a halfback, that's a big position to fill on a big stage. I think it was the right move in this case.
So Collies shocked the whole Harrigan Cup, beating the Corrimal Cougars 68-0. So youngster Nick Hall starred with 4 tries from fullback, and they also beat the reigning premiers round 1 as well.
Yes. I think I'll just make a slight correction because I think Nick Hall is from Young. He's not a youngster.
Oh, there we go. Shout out to Nick Hall.
But no, he got out of the gates quickly. He scored the first try in the 10th minute, and then he went on to score 3 others. So 4 tries in a game is pretty damn good, if you ask me. Blair Grant as well, converting 10 of 12. I don't think there was much that went wrong. In fact, all 3 Grant brothers found themselves scoring on the weekend, so that's a nice little addition for the family. But yeah, I spoke to their coach Jimmy yesterday, and he said it was actually a surprise to all. They didn't go into the match expecting it to be anything like that, and even as they were playing, you look at the score. I think the quote was, you look at the score and you think, oh, that's a mismatch, but it wasn't. That was, what he said. So quite humble in the win, but 68-0 on paper, that's pretty impressive.
Because I heard that Corrimal were a competitive side as well. Did their coach say anything? Has anyone from their side said anything yet?
I am actually due to give them a call today.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, no promises whether they will pick up the phone. I would be a little bit disappointed in myself and my team if that was my score on the weekend. But, each their own. But no, it'll be interesting if I do get onto them, what they say. A score like that in round 2 is a little bit heartbreaking, I would say. But again, on the flip side for Collies, it's a new coach. It's a lot of new structure on defense and attack. And they put on a display this weekend that Jimmy believed he was going to see in week 6. So they're essentially a month ahead of where he had them.
And they beat the reigning premiers by 2 points
Yes.
in round 1 as well. So potentially showing off some early premiership form potentially.
Yeah, and that was in terrible, terrible weather conditions. I don't know if anyone has seen the replays from that game, but it was pouring down. And that winning try scored in the last few minutes. The screen grab of it when he goes over the line is just water everywhere. It's muddy and it's wet. So they played through some terrible conditions, and they, very late try to put themselves in front.
Monsoonal weather. So Illawarra Hawks development player Brad Ballinger went off for the NBL1 team. Ballinger dropping 24 points All three NBL players, including Kobe McDowell-White and Todd Blanchfield, combining for 69 points and 17 triples. You were at this game.
I was at this game. It was my first NBL1 game, so that was very exciting. Incredible crowd, very packed out. They were up against Central Coast Crusaders. And yeah, they just put on a clinical show. It was a little bit close in the second and third quarters, but they brought it home. I think it was 23-10 or something like that in the last quarter, just really punched it out. And our mate Brad, what a showing. He shot 8 from 12 from deep, which I just think is a ridiculous stat. It also means that every single one of his points came from deep. So I don't know the last time I saw that happen.
No.
Yeah, but, on top of that as well, he had a bit of a slow first quarter, I would say. He went off a little bit disappointed in himself. You could see it on his face. And he said, he just went out there in the second quarter and his teammates were playing for him and everything fell into place. Let's not also forget Todd Blanchfield, Toddy, old mate. He had 7 threes as well. So, it was only that one extra 3 from Brad, and otherwise it'd be Todd headlining it as well.
But that's standard for Todd, though.
I know it's
NBL1 LeBron.
I know it's standard. It's like saying Bryce Cotton, 50 points.
Standard.
Todd Blanchard, 7 threes.
Toddy.
Yeah, no, so it was an incredible performance all round from our NBL boys. Kobe McDowell-White had his first double-double of the season, 16 points and 10 assists. And he had 5 steals. That's a lot of steals.
He's a bit short. He's a bit shorter compared to the rest. So does that help?
Maybe. I don't know.
Kobe, reach out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game.
So my question is, and sort of you can ask about it, they've had 4 wins from 6. Do we dare say the NBL1 team can do what the NBL team did and win the chip?
Look, I think they can. I think it's possible. I think I wrote it. They are in 5th at the moment.
Yes.
4th place.
On
Yeah, they're on equal points with 4th place. It's just their percentage. I think it's like 5.something%. But in saying that, Maitland Mustangs, they beat them in the opening round. So it's not like they can't do it. They haven't versed 1, 2, and 3 yet. They had a brain freeze against Newcastle the first time they had their head-to-head, and then they got above in overtime the next week. So, they definitely have the skill and they definitely have the experience with Toddy and the 2 development players. But it is a completely different team. So Coach Matt Flynn did say at the start of the season, it's good to have the experience leading them, but it's not the same team. So they've got a different job to do.
And it'll be taking time as well.
Exactly.
So obviously the big thing from last week, Sam Froling re-signing for 3 years. But the question comes now so Froling's locked in. He won't be back till early next year. Lockie Olbrich has declared for the draft. If Olbrich gets drafted, how do you address the big man issue, particularly before Froling comes back?
Yeah, well, I think they obviously have to address it regardless if Lockie gets drafted. It's a little bit tricky. I don't know the logistics. I mean, if they've signed Froling, does that mean they lose a spot in the roster? Like, can they sign an injury replacement?
I wonder. Yeah.
I was thinking about that on the way because I knew you were going to ask.
Oh, did
and
you?
I thought
it's almost like I prepped you.
I know. It's almost like you sent me a whole list of things we were going to talk about. No. So I think the more I ponder on it, I do think recruiting import like Matt Hurt in that place is probably the way to go. I love Darius Dares. And I love Gary Clark if he was ever going to give up that Japan money. But Matt Hurt can cover the 5 better than those 2, if that makes sense. And he did it when, Geordie Hunter would be in foul trouble. He can play that position and he's a little bit more suited to it. So I think that would be the way to go. I only started following the NBL 2 years ago, so I'm not too sure about what the other choices are in terms of imports that might be looking to come back. There may be another one around that who could be suited to it. But I think it's a good starting point to be chasing after a Matt Hurt. And if Lockie gets drafted, then it's a must and they need to find another. But they'll have to find a local this time.
100%. But then that brings me my question as well. Harry Frolling's back on the court? You might not have to look too far.
That is very true. He has been back on the court for a while and he's been training with them. And I think, it's a good sign for the Hawks and it's a good sign for Harry as well to have been given that opportunity and to be getting real experience in that high-paced environment. I mean, he's killing it over in New Zealand. I don't know, maybe that is the way to go. I think he's a little bit stronger than Lockie, different physicality, different build, definitely. But there's no reason why they can't go that way.
I mean, he's not much shorter than Sam, isn't he? Or is he shorter than Sam?
I think he's shorter than Sam.
Not by much, though.
But he's definitely, how do I say this, scarier looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More built.
Yeah. It's actually quite terrifying.
So Jess Hull on the latest round of the Grand Slam track, this time in sunny Miami, although it was pretty wet in Miami over the weekend. Shout out to Formula One. Jess Hull missed a podium at the latest round of the Grand Slam track. However, she's also said she's actually quite pleased and feels like the 2 kilometre zone is her sweet spot.
Yeah, so her races were, I believe they were the 1500 and the 800. She didn't grab a podium on either of those, but her 800 she was particularly happy about. She ran 2 minutes flat, which for anyone not savvy with their runs, that's about 24 kilometres an hour, 2 laps of a track. So that's
pretty quick.
Pretty damn fast. But yeah, she admitted that 1500 to 3K mark is her comfort zone. Running the shorter distances outside of that zone is perfect preparation for her ready for the World Champs in Tokyo this September. And yeah, this Grand Slam track is an incredible initiative. Like, she's pocketed another 30 grand. So you put that on top of the 40 grand that she earned in Kingston, Jamaica for the first installment, 70 grand for 2 meets.
And athletics is a field of competition where that funding has been lacking. So you can only imagine athletics as a whole worldwide is only going to go up because of this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, she's the only Australian in this circuit competing. So she's doing us proud. And, as long as she's happy with her performances and she's earning that bank, I think that's a success.
Fair play. Nike sponsorship too. Not too bad. So the Wollongong Wolves went down 1-0 to Northwest Sydney Spirit FC on the weekend. Spirit are in 4th. The Wolves are now in 8th. However, they are now 6 points away from Apia in 5th, which brings me to their next run. So they have a massive contest this week, taking on runaway leaders Marconi, who are 1st, before they take on Blacktown in 3rd and Apia in 5th after that. So in the next 3 games, they have 3 of the top 5. They played Rockdale, who are 2nd earlier in the year, and had a 1-1 draw with them. Already 13 games into a 30-week season. I know it might seem a little bit early, but again, if you lose touch with that running top 5, you're in trouble. Are these next 3 weeks season-defining already?
I think, the last 3 weeks have been a good lead-in to what I do agree is a do or die kind of period. Not in the sense like your season's over, but it is certainly a fantastic indicator of where you can be at the end of the season. A third of the way through is not early anymore. I think we're leading into very much the middle pack of the season when you should be hitting your strides. And it's been a while since they've been able to string together a couple of wins back to back. So, 1st, 3rd and 5th, that's a big ask. If they can get 1 win and 1 draw, I think, that would be a positive takeaway.
Well, I'm just having a look at it here. And you want to know the last time they had back-to-back wins in the NPL this year? It was actually last year. They actually haven't had back-to-back
there you go.
wins in the
'Cause they have
NPL this year.
a lot of draws is kind of
Yes.
impeding their ability to get a real run.
Yes. So they played Apia first round this year, which will be a good test. That was 3-3. And then they had the win against St George City, 0-0 against Sydney Olympic, not back-to-back. Draw against Central Coast, draw against Rockdale, beat Western Sydney, lost to St George. So no back-to-back there. Lost to Sydney United, got thumped by Manly United. The only time they've had back-to-back wins this year was when they beat Randwick City in the Australia Cup and then went on to beat Sutherland that weekend. So they actually haven't had any back-to-back wins this year.
And to be fair, that was 10 goals, wasn't it, combined? 6-0 and 4-0?
Yeah, it was 5-0 and 4-0. Yes. So Randwick City, obviously a Eastern Suburbs competition team, and obviously Sutherland 4-0 local rivals as well. So that was a good result there. But it is crucial, and with football, it ebbs and flows. But if you look at it now and how far away they are from Marconi, so currently Marconi's on 33 points, the Wolves are on 17. So Marconi is basically double their points advantage already and haven't lost a game at all this year, while the Wolves are almost perfectly even, 4 wins, 5 draws, 4 losses. 3 more goals scored compared to their against. So if they don't get 3 wins from 3, you can almost kiss the league title goodbye. Questionable.
Well, maybe they'll pull a Cairns Taipans.
A Cairns Taipan.
Yeah. Knock off top players.
Well, that's a good point. That is a very good point. I'm trying to have a look who's last at the moment. Western Sydney are last. Mount Druitt are next up before Central Coast.
And to be fair, they only beat Mount Druitt 2-1, so they are kind of due for a big win.
Yes, but these 3 weeks are going to be season defining for the Wolves, I think. Sticking with the Wolves, and the Australian Championship group stage draw has been confirmed, so the Wolves are going to be in Group C. This will be after the NPL New South Wales season, so they've got Marconi, the NPL Victoria Premiers, and Tasmanian Premiers as well. Their first game will be at home on the 18th of October, a Saturday, in Wollongong against the Victorian team. Right now, my opinion, I don't think this championship is going to work in its current form in terms of viability. So let me be clear. I want it to work. I don't know how it does currently, though. So my point is the A-League currently isn't financially viable as the top division compared to what it was 10, 15 years ago. They had crowds 10, 15 years ago. They don't have anywhere near the numbers now. COVID in particular ripped it apart. We don't even know who half the teams are going to be currently, and the format was released. So it's pretty much, from my eyes, an NPL postseason championship, which we already had a couple of years ago, and the Wolves actually won, if you remember, pre-COVID a couple of years ago. So I think if you bring in promotion and relegation eventually in this current form, clubs are going to fold. Either it's going to be too expensive to go up, or it's just going to financially wreck them if they go down. Now, we sort of talked about this off air. What's your take?
I don't know. It's been a bit enlightening hearing it from a football fan's perspective. My thing is I find it very funny that there isn't a second tier. Every sport that I've played, netball has a second tier with the Firebirds have Firebirds Futures, for example. Basketball obviously has a second tier. NBL1 is very, very high quality, and that's where they get a lot of players. Volleyball even has a second tier. So it's a new concept. I think football is a huge, huge sport. There's a huge fan base locally, and there's a huge playing base.
Number 1 participation sport in the country.
Yeah, so it surprises me that they don't have a clear pathway when they did before. Like, obviously you say COVID really killed it. What do they need to get back to that?
I don't know. Like, realistically, the sinking of NPL, like, it's sort of like, how do you work promotion relegation? So they've wanted to bring in we needed a second division for years. But then if you bring in a second division, then what happens you'll need the heritage clubs, which are spread out across all the different NPLs in Tasmania. But if you bring in those clubs in there, then what happens to the NPL system? Then what happens flows on to the League Ones and the League Twos. So if you if you want a second division, I hope they have a plan for it. They need to do it right straight away, and they need to make sure that there's a core group of clubs which can viably stay in the comp. The problem is, I think that's why the championship is in its current form right now, because there's not enough clubs who pass the viability test. And if it's not going to be viable here, well, you're better off keeping the NPLs just together and then just have a postseason NPL competition like they did years ago, have all the champions congregate somewhere or something like that. I don't know, rather than pouring money into this championship right now in its current form, if it's not viable, you can potentially maybe put some more funds into making sure the teams can fly to different states for that postseason tournament. Then once it's more viable, once there's more interest, that could create interest as well. Then you can sort of have a proper promotion relegation second tier league and then work it out from there. That's my opinion anyway.
And do you do it at the same time for the men and the women? Is that what we're talking? Because that's a whole other ball game.
So at the moment, the women don't even have an Australian championship either. So the women are literally just A-League Women's, formerly W-League, into, I'm not too sure how it is in the other states, but it's NPL and then League One. So there's two state divisions. But the thing is, the women's ones are bigger as well. I'm pretty sure they're like 14-team competitions, 16-team competitions. So they've got that pretty down pat as well. But at the moment, they don't have promotion relegation either. They do between the state leagues, but at the moment, if the men's can't get it right, I don't think they can get the women's right just yet either.